I'm gonna be honest, I'm tired. I filmed the last 2 episodes for my Resident Evil Revelations 2 series today, and I also did an hour-and-a-half GTA 5 story mode live stream, but you can still find those videos in the link in the description. The grind doesn't stop. We are back with another main channel video. Now, if you didn't know, I did a video called Reacting to Subscriber Recommended Videos, where I got a recommendation to a video called The Mothman from wherever, I can't really remember, and it was, I can't remember who suggested it, but it was by Bedtime Stories. I said, you guys want me to react to more bedtime stories? Leave in the comments down below. The person who originally recommended the video said, yo, react to, Who Are the Men in Black by Bedtime Stories. And, it took me a couple days. It wasn't like I was avoiding the dude. It wasn't like I didn't want to film the video and just didn't know how to say, no, I don't want to film it. If I didn't want to film it, I would have just been like, nah. But I've been busy. I've been grinding out fucking videos on my second channel. I swear to God, like, you should really go to the link in the description and check out my second channel, subscribe. It is actually a bunch of fucking videos in there in like the past week, like banger, 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 banger. Right back to back. I think I'm going to start Destiny 2. Destiny 2? Yeah, I think I'm going to start that series tomorrow or maybe tonight. Who fucking knows? You know, the grind never stops. But yeah, it wasn't like I was avoiding him or anything. I also, Sam and Colby uploaded their video. I'm like, I'm going to react to that first. But yeah, I seen this in the comments, recommended to me. Who Are the Men in Black by Bedtime Stories. So yeah, not much else to say. Let's just jump on into the reaction.
Government agents of suppression, or extraterrestrial visitors in disguise. Who are the Men in Black?
Who are
And
they?
could recent CCTV footage finally provide proof of their existence?
Oh, bro.
This week,
They gotta be real, honestly. Like, Men in Black, bro, government, all that shit, Area 51, aliens, bullshit. I believe that. I believe that real. I believe that's real. Men in Black, 100%. I like what this guy, Bedtime Stories, what he does with his videos. Like, it's like he adds to the effect of trying to, like, add the spookiness to it by having it, like, all black and white, hand-drawn pictures. I think they're sick. Does he draw them, or does someone else draw them for him? Leave it in the comments down below.
on Bedtime Stories, we pull back the veil on these highly mysterious individuals.
Oh, there's the intro. I love it. That's the shit! Bedtime Stories! I hate how he doesn't reverse. I'm gonna move back up a little too close to the camera. There we go, that's better. Bedtime Stories presents. Who are the Men in Black? Oh, I felt like there was a jump scare coming. I don't know why. I feel like I forgot how to talk today. I can't fucking speak.
Back in 1968, when the Condon Committee was
Said
sampling
condom.
public attitudes towards UFOs, they gave the following statement to a cross-section of the American public. A government agency maintains a top-secret file on UFO reports, which are deliberately withheld from the public.
That makes sense.
The respondents were then asked to answer true or false. A substantial majority, almost 2/3 of all people surveyed, agreed with this assertion. Amongst teenagers, the gap was even wider, with almost 75% of them believing the statement to be true.
My grandmother would have been a teenager at the
If
time.
that same survey was carried out today, it is believed that the percentage of those in agreement would be even higher.
Oh, I believe it, bro. I believe
This is hardly surprising, considering that we now live in an age of free-flowing information or misinformation, depending on who you ask.
Facts.
And especially since the advent of the internet, it has become almost a normality to question and make accusations against those in power. But little over half a century ago, this lack of trust in government was nowhere near as prevalent as it is today.
Yeah, that makes sense. No
And one could
technology and
argue
stuff. No, like, stuff
that
to
it all
figure out about
started
him
back
later in
the
life, I
late
guess.
1940s, in the wake of what is now known as the Roswell incident. That one event, whether or not there is any truth to it, brought into the mainstream the very notion of government conspiracies and cover-ups. Throughout the 1950s, when the concept of flying saucers and visitors from outer space was still in its infancy, UFO witnesses and investigators alike were apparently being harassed, threatened, and ordered into maintaining silence by mysterious individuals known as the Men in Black.
Here comes the
These
Man in
strange
Black.
men were often described as wearing black suits with dark hats, and that they travelled around in black cars.
That explains
usually
the Men in
of the
Black.
classic American variety. At the time, it was believed that these individuals worked for a secret government organisation, tasked with suppressing any mention of UFOs or extraterrestrials within the public domain.
I feel like that make a lot of
But over
sense.
the years,
Because, like, let's be honest, if people found out that there was aliens, oh, hell would break loose. People lose their fucking minds. They don't know how to react. There's gonna be some people that's like, let's kill them all. Some people are like, maybe they're friendly. And then the aliens are just gonna be like, man, we have you guys on our fingertips, you motherfuckers. You know what I mean? So I feel like this would make a lot of sense.
this assumption has evolved, and advocates
Appreciate
of
the
their
Men in Black.
existence now consider the possibility that these supposed government agents themselves might in fact be extraterrestrial in nature.
Who
The
knows?
1997 film of the same name made light of the MIB conspiracy, and did so to disarming
Will
comic
Smith.
effect.
Love that
But
movie.
for the people who have
Can't remember the
apparently
other
been
guy's- the
visited
other
by
actor's
these
name.
mysterious entities, it is no laughing matter.
Yeah,
And
that's
what
true.
follows is but a small selection of accounts regarding such encounters. In 1952, a former US Air Force serviceman turned author and amateur ufologist by the name of Albert K. Bender set up an organization
Like the
called
robot.
the International Flying Saucers Bureau to investigate and report upon strange UFO activity being witnessed all over the world at that time.
Let me guess, they offed him.
The organisation was initially a success, publishing a weekly newsletter which was distributed to its small but dedicated audience of around 2,000 people worldwide. However, in early 1953, Bender suddenly and mysteriously shut down his operation and ceased all publication, leaving in the newsletter's final issue a rather ominous message.
Ooh, what's the message? What's the message?
Advise those engaged in saucer work to please be very cautious.
Colleagues reported his odd demeanour at the time, stating that he seemed agitated and nervous, as if someone or something had scared him out of his wits.
I'd be nervous. Fuck.
Bender did not eat or sleep properly for weeks after he closed the bureau, and was said to have suffered with unbearable headaches during this time.
That's from all the
When
flashes of the
questioned
Men in
about his
Black
sudden
dudes.
and inexplicable decision, he refused to elaborate, and maintained this silence for many years afterwards. Almost a decade
Because
later,
they probably got eyes on him everywhere. As soon as he blabs a little bit, bah, cut off. Cut off this motherfucker. The government has lots of power. You know what I mean? They have lots of power. I don't even think those guys even fully control the world. The billionaires probably help them control the world. You know what I mean? Anything they want done, they can make happen. You know what I mean?
in 1962,
I'd be silent
Bender
as
finally
fuck.
explained his actions,
I don't snitch.
saying that he had been visited by 3 men dressed in black, who had appeared out of thin air and warned him not to continue his work on UFOs. Some years later, in 1976, a well-known and highly respected family physician, Dr. Herbert Hopkins, was to report a very chilling encounter. Hopkins was home alone at his residence in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, on the night of the 11th of September. He was studying a
9/11.
UFO incident which had occurred some months prior, when the phone suddenly rang. Hopkins answered, and a man's voice was heard on the other end, identifying himself as a representative of the New Jersey UFO organization, something which later turned out to be bogus.
Wow.
The
Fuck those
caller
guys.
asked Hopkins
It was a
if he
prank
was
call.
alone, and whether he could visit him to talk about the UFO case he was investigating. Hopkins agreed, and the man told him that he would be there
Just
shortly.
randomly calls the dude up. What the fuck?
The moment he hung up, Hopkins went to the front door to turn on his porch light, and noticed that the man was already coming up the steps in front of his house. He
So they can track these people, do everything they want, but they still need to get phone call permission to walk into the house and tell them, hey, you can't fucking do this.
recalled feeling a little unnerved by this,
I would
because
say
even
lock
if
the
the
door.
man had called from his neighbour's house, there was no way he could have reached the front door in the time it had taken Hopkins to walk from the phone over to the light switch.
No cell phones back then.
Bear
Doesn't
in
explain
mind that this was before the advent of mobile
it.
phones.
Yes, exactly.
Nevertheless, he was still keen to hear what this man had to say, and upon inviting him in, Hopkins was struck by the stranger's appearance.
This is the first time you ever talked to
He
him. You
was a
invited him over
tall,
already,
skinny
and
man
you still let him in.
who wore a dark, ill-fitting suit and had a black derby on his head. His skin was smooth and deathly pale, and when he sat down and removed his hat, Hopkins noticed that he was as bald as an egg. He had no hair whatsoever. He was devoid of eyebrows and eyelashes. His lips were a bright ruby red, and he spoke in an expressionless voice. There was no intonation or inflection in his tone, and all of his words were evenly spaced. Throughout their conversation, he sat motionless, his mouth being the only thing that moved. As if that wasn't disturbing enough, on one of the few occasions that the stranger did move another part of his body besides his lips, he happened to wipe his mouth with the back of his hand, which left a red smear across his cheeks. It was at this point that Hopkins realised the stranger was wearing lipstick,
Yeah, ruby red.
and
That
then
makes
further
sense.
noticed that his mouth was actually a perfectly straight slit. He didn't even have a pair of lips.
What the fuck?
Hopkins became very frightened at this point, and when the visitor asked him to remove the copper coin that was sat in his pocket, he complied immediately. How this strange
Yes.
man even knew that he had a copper coin in his pocket is a mystery, but throughout the conversation, the doctor had the distinct feeling that the visitor was somehow reading his mind. Hopkins held the coin in the palm of his
Now,
hand.
if you just
as
read my mind,
instructed,
you just
and the
hear a lot of
visitor
what the
simply
fucks.
told him to watch it. As he did, it changed colour from copper to silver, then became blurry, almost as if it was going out of focus. It then disappeared, right in front of his eyes. The visitor told an utterly bewildered doctor in no uncertain terms that if he did not destroy all of the information he had collected on the UFO case, he himself would suffer the same fate as the coin. As the
Yes,
man
sir,
spoke
whatever you
these
say,
last
sir.
words, Hopkins stated how his speech had begun to slow down and that his words had become slurred. The strange man suddenly told him that his energy was running low and that he had to leave. The doctor showed him to the door and
Oh, that's
watched
fucking
as he
creepy.
walked down
Is
the
he a
steps,
robot? Alien
holding
robot?
onto the railing,
Robot alien? What?
almost as if he was crippled. He then hobbled around the corner and out of sight, at which point
Now my blood
there
sugars
was
are
a
low. I
huge
gotta get out
bright
of here.
flash, and then silence. Hopkins was deeply
Deuces.
disturbed by this experience. His family came home later that evening to find him sat in the living room staring into space, with every light in the house turned on.
This dude's got a family, gonna put him in
There
danger
have
like
been
that. What
many
a
accounts
fuck.
over the last 50 or 60 years regarding men in black, and many, especially those as fantastical as the Herbert Hopkins encounter, have been met with cynicism and sometimes even outright derision from the wider community. Their existence is extremely difficult to prove, and more often than not, belief boils down to the credibility of the witness, and that is just not enough for the majority of skeptics.
Yeah, that's true. Your word against
However,
mine, never really gonna
In
work.
2012, some very interesting footage surfaced on the internet. The video was recorded 4 years earlier in 2008 and was taken from a CCTV camera situated in the
Ontario,
lobby of a
Canada.
hotel near Niagara Falls in Ontario.
Bro, I could
Canada.
drive there in like a day. That's
2
how
weeks
close I
prior
am to
to its
there.
recording, one of the employees at the hotel had witnessed strange UFO activity over the Niagara River in the early hours of the morning and had mentioned the incident to friends and
And
colleagues.
they're listening to the phones. They got you all over
This
the place.
resulted in an unexpected visit.
I think I seen this footage before because I seen a different video that was like top 10 Men in Black sightings or something, and then these guys like it showed the person walking into work, and then like 5 minutes later the people walk in, then like a minute later catches the footage of them walking out, but it's like they're wearing something different. I don't know.
From 2 strange men dressed in black.
I like that.
The
Bedtime
camera
stories, and they have the
captured
edit.
these
I
two
like that. I like
individuals
that.
Entering the hotel reception, walking in exactly the same way as each other.
Yeah,
wearing
that was it.
exactly
That was
the
it.
Same clothes, and even appearing to look exactly the same in both facial structure and build.
Bruh, that guy walking right
Witnesses
there
reported
could have
that
just
they were
met
very
the Men in
tall
Black
and
without
thin,
even noticing.
and that they looked like identical twins. Hotel guests and employees alike were profoundly disturbed by their presence, not just because of their threatening behaviour, but because of their appearance in general. The descriptions given were very similar to the stranger who had visited Hopkins: tall, thin, utterly devoid of hair, and failing to exhibit any kind of emotion or facial expression.
Bro, just waited out long enough, maybe a little
The two
energy will
men
run
both
low.
had identical icy blue eyes, which were described as being almost hypnotic. They never blinked once. They were said to have a determined, inquisitive nature, and once again, the people who came into contact with them reported that they felt exposed, as if their innermost thoughts were somehow being read. These strangers kept asking to speak to the young man who had witnessed the UFO activity 2 weeks earlier, but fortunately for him, he was not at work that day.
Bro, if they can track everything like that and they know that you've seen something and you're talking about it and they know they're on your ass, they should know your work schedule, don't you think?
When they failed in their attempts to locate him, the strange men apparently began asking staff members about other UFO sightings and conspiracy theories in general. They appeared neither satisfied nor dissatisfied with any of the answers given to them. They simply logged the information and moved on, leaving as abruptly as they had arrived, never to be seen or heard from again.
Bro, that's so crazy how that's
This
so
encounter
close to me.
is very similar in description
like a day's drive, I'm
to
there.
many other accounts recorded throughout the last 60 or 70 years, and it would seem to suggest that the Men in Black are not quite of this world. Other accounts, however, have been much less fanciful, with witnesses of those encounters reporting no such odd appearance or behaviour from the men who visited them. So what are we to believe? Are the Men in Black human or non-human, or are
Maybe
they a
it's a-
combination of the two?
I was to say maybe they're both.
Humans and extraterrestrials working together towards the same goal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That can make sense.
Do they even exist at all? There is very little evidence that would suggest so, and even the CCTV footage recorded at the hotel in Ontario
Everyone was like
is
saying their
questionable,
stuff, but how
which was
credible is that
coincidentally
information you got?
released on the internet at around the same time that the third Men in Black movie was being heavily promoted, which has led many skeptics to believe it was nothing more than a viral marketing campaign. But this doesn't explain the 2008 timestamp or the numerous witness accounts which back it up. In general, skeptics have pointed out that the Men in Black phenomenon is largely limited to North America, has become an ingrained facet of American folklore, and is above all relatively recent, the height of its notoriety having occurred during the 1950s.
Last
at a
video
time
is
when
all about the
paranoia
1950s and
over
60s. Like
unidentified
everything
flying
started happening in the
objects
1950s
was
and
at its
60s.
peak. Finally, they argue that it all began with one man, Albert Bender, and that every other account since then is the result of copycats and opportunists wishing to further inflate the legend. However, this is not strictly accurate.
Possible. I mean, everything's possible, dude.
Reports of Men in Black are not just limited to the United States. Many encounters have occurred in Europe, Australia, and elsewhere around the globe, and whilst modern descriptions of these individuals can mostly be traced back to Bender's account, the phenomenon is not all that recent and actually predates the 1950s era by hundreds of years. During the Middle Ages, people would often report encountering men dressed in black robes, wearing black hats, malevolent entities who possessed inhuman capabilities and were odd in both appearance and behaviour. Descriptions of these strange men were nearly always the same, leading many to believe that they were all manifestations of just one man, and that that man was the devil.
I don't know. I don't know
these
about that one.
individuals actually be spiritual, or even
I think they could be paranormal or spiritual or some sort of thing like that. But I think it could be humans and aliens, extraterrestrials, supernatural things working together for one greater goal. I think that makes a lot of sense. Quite honestly, you know.
paranormal as opposed to supernatural? It has been suggested by some that the men in black are in fact demonic in nature, and links to shadow people have been made, particularly that of the Hat Man, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Relationships with the black-eyed children have
The
also
black-
been
fuck,
reported,
what?
with some witnesses seeing both men in black and black-eyed children travelling
And you
around
look like
in the
parents.
same
That's the
vehicles.
cover up right there.
Regardless of these theories, it is largely assumed and accepted by the fringe community that MIBs are extraterrestrial visitors who have infiltrated various governments around the world, and worse, that those governments are actually aware of their presence and even work in collusion with
I think
them.
that's possible.
To what ends is anyone's guess.
That's the crazy thing, bro.
Whoever the men in black are, it is clear that they are rather sinister and that no good ever comes of their presence. Witnesses often feel intimidated,
I felt the
threatened,
same way on my
bitterly
driving.
disturbed after coming into contact with them. Whether they are government agents, extraterrestrial beings, paranormal entities, or nothing more than a figment of the imagination, the thought of coming face to face with one of them is no less terrifying.
I see a Men in Black
If
person,
you
I'm gonna
are ever
fucking just
lucky enough
let
to
go
see
some
an
slugs in his
unidentified
face.
flying object, or witness some other supernatural event, only to hear a gentle knock at your door in the dead of night,
Don't open the door.
we advise you not to answer it.
You in your drawer. Bro, that's creepy. I like that. I like that little ending. Adds a little bit of disturbance to it. Ooh. Bruh. Feminists are pissed right now. What about the women in black? No, I'm just joking. But, bro, I'm weird. I like supernatural stuff like this. I like this type of stuff. I'd probably, for a vacation, I'd want to go to the hotel that fucking thing happened. And then I'm going to say, like, to my girlfriend, wife, whatever the fuck, whoever I go with, best friend or something, to be like, in this lobby right here was like one of the biggest Men in Black sightings in history. I like weird shit like that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Anything else you want me to react to, leave it in the comments down below. Any more bedtime story videos you want me to react to, also leave that in the comments down below. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, and deuces.
Bring me